You've tried every technique, said every affirmation, and somehow you feel more tired than when you started. What I've learned from working with thousands of people over the years is that there comes a moment when the very practices meant to lift us up begin to weigh us down. You wake up feeling like you should be meditating, should be visualizing, should be holding higher vibrations. The word should has infiltrated your spiritual practice so completely that what once felt like freedom now feels like another item on your endless to-do list. And this isn't because you're doing anything wrong. What I've seen again and again is that somewhere along the way, we turned manifestation into performance. We made it about proving our worthiness to the universe instead of simply being in relationship with life. The exhaustion you're feeling isn't spiritual failure, it's your inner wisdom saying there's a gentler way. If you're choosing rest over rush today, you can write rest. The truth that most manifestation teachings miss is that trying too hard actually creates resistance in the very field you're attempting to influence. When we approach our desires with the same driven energy we use for everything else in our lives, we bring that same frequency of striving and efforting into our spiritual practice. But manifestation isn't about effort, it's about alignment, and alignment can't be forced. What I've discovered is that the most profound manifestations often come not when we're pushing and striving, but when we're resting in a state of gentle receptivity. Think about how seeds grow. They don't strain toward the light. They simply allow the natural intelligence within them to unfold in its own timing. There's no forcing, no trying to speed up the process, no self-judgment about how long it's taking. Yet so many of us have been taught to approach our dreams the way we approach our careers, with deadlines, strategies, and relentless effort. We've forgotten that the feminine principle of creation works through softness, through allowing, through trust and natural timing. This doesn't mean being passive. It means being in flow. The exhaustion you're feeling is often your body's way of saying, slow down, let me breathe, let me receive. When we honor this message instead of pushing through it, we often discover that what we thought was resistance was actually preparation. There's a kinder way to look at this. What shows up in your body when you think about all the spiritual practices you think you should be doing? For many people, I notice there's a tightness in the chest, a subtle constriction around the heart. There might be tension in the shoulders, as if you're carrying the weight of your own expectations. Some people feel a heaviness in their solar plexus, that place where our personal power lives, as if the joy has been drained out of their own creative force. This is what happens when we turn our desires into demands, both on ourselves and on the universe. Our nervous system, which is designed to help us navigate life with ease and flow, begins to interpret our spiritual practice as another source of stress. Instead of the peace and expansion we're seeking, we create contraction and depletion. You might notice a subtle anxiety around meditation time, a resistance to your gratitude practice, or a feeling of going through the motions during visualization. These aren't signs that you're failing at spirituality. They're signs that you need permission to approach your inner life with more gentleness. There is nothing wrong with you. Your body has wisdom about timing and energy that your mind doesn't always understand. When you feel resistant to your practices, it might not be laziness or lack of faith. It might be your inner guidance system telling you to approach this differently. The same intelligence that beats your heart and heals your cuts knows how to navigate the realm of manifestation, but it works through softness, not force. What I want you to consider is this: what if rest itself is a manifestation practice? What if allowing yourself to feel tired without judgment is actually a way of honoring the creative force within you? If your body is asking for patience, patience belongs here. The shadow side of manifestation culture is the subtle message that if things aren't changing quickly, you must be doing something wrong. We develop what I call spiritual perfectionism, the belief that we should be able to control our inner states at all times, that we should always be positive, always be grateful, always be in alignment. This creates an impossible standard that leaves us feeling inadequate and exhausted. But here's what I've learned about the gift hidden in this exhaustion. It's often the doorway to a much more sustainable and authentic spiritual practice. When we can no longer maintain the facade of having it all figured out, when we can no longer push through our human limitations, we're forced to discover what Louise called the gentle path. The gift of exhaustion is that it teaches us to work with our energy rather than against it. It shows us that we can't manufacture inspiration, but we can create conditions that allow it to arise naturally. We learn that rest is productive, that slow progress is still progress, and that honoring our limitations actually expands our capacity over time. Instead of trying to override your fatigue, you begin to see it as information. Instead of judging your resistance, you start to recognize it as redirection. This isn't giving up on your dreams. It's learning to dream in partnership with your whole being, not just your ambitious mind. The transformation happens when you stop trying to be the perfect manifester and start being a compassionate one. When you can hold your desires with open palms instead of clenched fists. When you can trust your timing instead of forcing the universe's timeline. When you can receive your dreams as gifts rather than achievements you've earned through spiritual performance. This is when manifestation becomes sustainable. This is when it becomes joy rather than burden. Here are some ways to shift into this gentler approach, and as you try these practices, you might choose one word to anchor the experience. First, create what I call a soft intention practice. Instead of demanding that the universe deliver your desires by a certain date, try setting intentions with phrases like, I'm open to, or I allow, or I welcome. This changes the energy from demand to invitation. Write your intentions as if you're sending a loving letter to a dear friend, not issuing ultimatums to an unwilling universe. Second, practice energy conservation. Notice which spiritual activities actually nourish you and which ones drain you. Give yourself permission to focus only on the practices that feel genuinely supportive. Sometimes this means meditating for 5 minutes instead of 20. Sometimes this means writing 3 things you're grateful for instead of 10. Quality over quantity, always. Third, honor your seasonal rhythms. Just as plants have natural cycles of growth and dormancy, so do we. There are times when you'll naturally feel more expansive and times when you'll need to turn inward. Both phases are part of the creative process. Instead of fighting your natural rhythms, learn to work with them. Fourth, reframe your relationship with resistance. When you notice yourself feeling resistant to a practice or a desire, instead of pushing through, try asking, what is this resistance trying to tell me? Often resistance is wisdom in disguise. It might be guiding you toward better timing, a different approach, or simply the need for more rest. Fifth, develop a nervous system regulation practice. Before you sit down to visualize or set intentions, take a few minutes to help your body feel safe and calm. This might be through gentle breathing, soft music, or simply placing your hands on your heart. When your nervous system is regulated, manifestation becomes much more effortless. Sixth, practice receiving in small ways. If manifestation feels difficult, sometimes it's because we haven't developed our capacity to receive. Start with tiny things. Let someone hold a door for you. Accept a compliment without deflecting. Allow yourself to enjoy a moment of beauty without feeling guilty. These small acts of receiving prepare you for larger manifestations. Seventh, create a wisdom advantage list. Write down all the things you know now that you didn't know when you were younger and more impatient. Include your hard-won insights about timing, relationships, money, and life in general. This helps you recognize that your current pace isn't a limitation, it's the result of wisdom. If you practice any of these tonight, you may come back and simply write, done. What I want to leave you with is this. Your exhaustion isn't a sign that you're failing at spirituality. It's often a sign that you're ready to graduate to a more mature, sustainable way of creating your life. The frantic energy that our culture associates with getting what you want isn't actually necessary for manifestation. In fact, it often gets in the way. You don't need to fix yourself. You don't need to become more disciplined or more positive or more anything. You just need to remember that you are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are an expression of it. And that force doesn't work through struggle and strain. It works through love, through trust, through the kind of patience that knows good things take time to mature. I am willing to trust my own timing. I allow my desires to unfold naturally. I choose rest when my body asks for it. I receive my dreams as gifts, not achievements. I'm gentle with myself as I grow and learn. Your dreams are not late. Your timing is not wrong. You are exactly where you need to be, learning exactly what you need to learn about the art of gentle creation. Let yourself rest in that knowing. Let yourself be held by the understanding that the universe is not waiting for you to perform your way into worthiness. It's waiting for you to remember that you already belong to the mystery of creation itself. And in that belonging, all things become possible. This content is for educational and spiritual reflection purposes only. It is not a substitute for medical, psychological, legal, or financial advice.